Day 2 of Living in the Light by Deepak Chopra. Today's theme, or mantra if you will, is being myself brings contentment. Being myself brings contentment. He opens up with talking about accepting yourself for everything and for every part of you, including past mistakes that you find hard to let go, which are lessons that you need to learn. And as long as you continue to hold them against yourself, you're not going to resolve that anger or that resentment, that envy or fear. So if you're not changing, and if you're living in that state of any form of guilt, or not accepting the past, or not accepting what happened, then you're hurting your current self. You're allowing those past situations to continue to hurt you, to continue to cause emotional pain. So you need to let go of that and to use that energy as a way to fuel change in your life, as a way to better yourself. Okay, so it's basically focusing on finding contentment, being content in the here and the now, accepting everything about yourself, accepting everything about, the scars that are there for a reason and how that makes you who you are today. Okay, so the practice is to remind yourself of your own goodness and your own worth. Reject any opinion to the contrary, even if it's coming from your own mind or if it's coming from other people. The point is to reinforce your feelings of happiness and to be content with yourself and how you show up every day. Don't dwell on unhappy experiences of the past, because what you're doing based on, the law of attraction basically is you're attracting more of those feelings. So as Joseph Murphy always brought out, was that your feeling is what attracts that experience, and your subconscious mind is being fed by your conscious mind. So if you're constantly trying to attract a better life, but then you're feeling doom and gloom, or just constantly feeling like nothing's going to change, even though you want that change, that feeling is going to be stronger than that desire. So you have to make sure that you're also feeling good and you're expecting a good outcome from that. He also reminds you the importance of surrounding yourself with people who have a high self-esteem, who are not going to find any need to bring you down, or they're not going to just be bored and talk shit about you. So find those people who have a high self-esteem, high vibe, and they're going to lift you up as well. That's if you're struggling with finding your peace, your inner peace. Also, be vigilant that you don't fall into a false self-worth, like thinking you're better than everybody else, thinking, just being overly prideful or boasting. Don't make other people feel small so you can feel bigger. And that goes hand in hand with finding that healthy self-esteem that you look for in other people, so that you're not being attacked by them, and vice versa. You lift each other up, because the universe is abundant. There's not, if it's just me, I can only be the best, or you can only be the best. It's equal. He reminds us that life is not just about pursuing pleasure only and distracting ourselves from the inevitable, but it's about finding those moments of bliss and of self-acceptance which mirror our truer, higher self. And he goes into stating that the emotional self is not who we are, but it gives us a glimpse again of that higher being, of who we are. Okay, so being aware of what not to do is just as productive as knowing the practices of self-acceptance. Emotional intelligence contains both. The opposite of self-acceptance is low self-esteem. So this is the area that he chooses to focus on. So he goes into talking about what not to do for your emotional well-being, and we'll get into that. So first, he talks about comparing yourself unlovingly to those around you. Next one is reminding yourself of your shortcomings, just constantly playing in the back of your head again and again and again, condemning your mistakes, even if they're trivial, setting up an ideal of perfection that you will never obtain, being unreasonable in the demands you place on yourself and others, holding on to old experiences of guilt and shame and just replaying them like a movie, pretending to be better than you actually think you are, and deprecating yourself in moments of false modesty. Okay, so those are things that he says we partake in that will lower our self-esteem. So he gives us the two lists, one of self-acceptance and then the one that we just talked about, which is one that, you know, would lower our self-esteem and have that imbalance in our emotional life. So our feelings are transient, and even on our best days, we still need to focus on, you know, making our life as balanced as possible and to detach. So that's where we have that element of, you know, the Buddhist teachings, which is that no matter what's going on around us, we're calm. And if it's something good happening, we're detached from it. If it's something bad happening, we're detached from it. And that's how we retain that inner peace, is by kind of having that separation between the experience of the outer self and maintaining that calm awareness inside of us, and understanding that, you know, if we can experience something very, very pleasurable, we're also capable of experiencing something just as painful. And there goes the Hermetic principle as well, which talks about that balance that Buddha talks about as well, which is just maintain a balance no matter what is happening around you, and that will give you a heightened sense of peace. Okay, so next he goes into talking about not rejecting your emotions. So don't get it confused with like, okay, well, I'm detached from everything, nothing matters, good, bad, everything's the same, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm just here experiencing this life and I'm going to be completely detached. He says, no, actually, your blissful emotional life, you need to be able to not escape your emotions, but you need to let them unfold naturally, and don't interfere with them. Just explore them and understand that they are part of your nature. They are part of your inner being. And as long as you don't reject them and you see them as a part of your humanly self, your humanly experience, you'll be able to get past them and understand them. And then, as the Hermetics say, you can transmute them or change the element of what they are. And that finally brings us to the exercise of today's practice, which is do not resist the flow of life. And that includes resisting those around us. The opposite of this is to offer, you know, resistance rather than taking things as they come. So he says, reflect on our life and how we resist those around us. So perhaps it's bickering with other people, unresolved disagreements, rejection, ridicule, resentment, feeling superior or inferior, pushing them away, expressing a lack of respect, nagging, indulging in petty criticisms. Those are ways that we reject those around us. And finally, he ends Tuesday with saying that emotional intelligence teaches that resisting others contributes to your own lack of contentment and self-acceptance. It could mean that we ourselves are suffering from a low self-esteem, and one way of increasing contentment in your life is to go back down from unnecessary habitual resistance. So stop resisting life as it flows to you and just accept everything for how it is. Don't have a judgment or any sort of criticism for it. Just, you know, that's the flow of life. And if you are a highly critical person, then practice criticism's opposite, which is praise. Think about the good in every situation, the good in every other person. Don't point out other people's flaws constantly, because when you have that finger pointing back at you, you're constantly going to be criticizing yourself, right? Or it could be something that you're rejecting in yourself. And just breathe in, let everything flow. Everybody has their own way of doing things. There's not one set way about doing something. And just be flexible. That's going to help you a lot.